Hello, hello, hello. Um, အဓိကကျွန်တော်ဆော့ဆော့ Facebook ဆော့ဆော့မို့အခု Facebook ဇာတ်ကဘတ်ကနေပြီးတော့ live လွှင့်နေတဲ့ um building for the ကျွန်တော်တို့ Metaverse အဲ့ဒီ live တစ်ခုပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါတွေကျွန်တော်ကြည့်နေတာအကုန်လုံးလည်းစိတ်ဝင်စားမှထင်လို့ကျွန်တော် live inside the lab ဆိုပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော် follow လုပ်နေတာဒီနေ့မှစပြီးတော့ဒီနေ့ရမနေ့ပြန်ရကျွန်တော် launch လုပ်
There's never been a better time to be building the future. Better connectivity technology that can scale to the entire planet, bringing billions of people online to a faster internet. Nothing in the world is advancing as fast as AI is today. And it's helping us build entirely new computing platforms. From VR headsets to AR glasses. These new platforms will help us share truly immersive experiences and reimagine what it's like to be together, even when we're physically apart. Transforming how we work, play, and connect with the people we care most about. We build these new platforms and technologies with privacy and safety baked in from the very beginning. And it's all being invented here, inside the lab.
The Facebook series update inside the lab ဆိုပြီးတော့ပြောထားတာပေါ့လေ
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us for Inside the Lab. We work on a lot of different technologies here at Meta, everything from virtual reality to designing our own data centers. And we are particularly focused on foundational technologies that can make entirely new things possible. And today, we're going to focus on perhaps the most important foundational technology of our time, artificial intelligence. We're going to share some breakthroughs in our AI research and some of the problems that we need to solve as we build for the metaverse. The kinds of experiences that you'll have in the metaverse are beyond what is possible today. It's an immersive version of the internet. Instead of just looking at something on a screen, you're going to actually feel like you're inside it or right there present with another person. And that's going to require advances across a whole range of areas, from new hardware devices to software for building and exploring worlds. And the key to unlocking a lot of these is advances in AI. So let's take a look at some of the challenges that we're working on. First, creating a new generation of assistants that will help us explore new worlds. Today, a lot of AI research is focused on understanding the physical world. But in the metaverse, we're going to need AI that is built around helping people navigate virtual worlds as well as our physical world with augmented reality. And because these worlds will be dynamic and always changing, AI is going to need to be able to understand context and learn in the way that humans do. And when we have glasses on our faces, that will be the first time that an AI system will be able to really see the world from our perspective. See what we see, hear what we hear, and more. So the ability and expectation that we have for AI systems is going to be much higher. Now, we are already using simpler machine learning systems to parse information for us today. Every time you get a recommendation or search for something, or even take a photo on a phone, there is machine learning in the background. Computing is also becoming increasingly contextual. Instead of this static experience that's the same no matter where you are, the way that we use computers now adapts much more to what you're doing.
glasses
And as
ထဲမှာ
devices have gotten better at understanding and anticipating
သူ့
what
ရဲ့
we want,
ဒီ
they've
camera
also
ရှေ့
gotten
ကနေ
more
ပြီးတော့
useful.
မှကျွန်တော်တို့ဘာတွေမြင်
Now,
နေ
I
လဲဆိုတော့
expect
နားလည်တဲ့အ
that
ချိန်
these
မှာကျွန်တော်တို့
trends will
instruction
only
ပြန်ပြီးတော့ပေးလာ
increase
နိုင်တဲ့
in
ပုံ
the
စံမျိုးဖြစ်သွား
future.
တာပေါ့
The metaverse will consist of immersive worlds that you can create and interact with all the visual information that includes, like your position in 3D space, your body language, facial gestures, and so on. And this is all from your first-person perspective. So
တခြား
you
သူရဲ့
experience it and move through it as if
ည
you
နေ
were
ထား
really
အမှု
there.
အရာတွေအဖြစ်
And
အမှု
all
အား
that
လုံးအဲ့ဒီ
adds up to a
AI
lot
က
more
နေပြီးတော့
input to
နား
be
လည်ပေးလာ
processed
နိုင်
and
မ
a
ယ်ဆို
lot
တဲ့ဘက်
more
ကို
content to
သွား
be
နေရပါဘူး
generated. So we're going to need help navigating all of this efficiently. And the work that we do to build this is going to pave the way for assistants that can move between virtual and physical worlds too. A key part of this effort is building better models for richer and deeper communication between people and AI. So today, we are announcing Project Karaoke, which is a fully end-to-end neural model for building on-device assistants. It combines the approach behind BlenderBot with the
Karaoke
latest
ဆိုတဲ့
in conversational AI
Karaoke ဆို
to
တဲ့
deliver better
project တစ်
dialogue
ခုထပ်လုပ်နေ
capabilities.
ပါတယ်တဲ့
And from there, to support true world creation and exploration, we need to advance well beyond the current state of the art for smart assistants. So we're working on two areas of AI research to make this possible. Egocentric perception, which is about seeing worlds from a first-person perspective, and a whole new class of
egocentric
generative
ဆိုတဲ့
AI
ဟို
models that
ကျွန်တော်
help you
တို့ first
create
person ဆိုတာ
anything that you
ကျွန်
can
တော်တို့
imagine.
မြင်နေတဲ့ပုံစံအ
Now,
တိုင်းကို
here's an AI concept that we created
ပြောသလို
called
ဒီ
BuilderBot,
AI နဲ့
which showcases this
မြင်
work.
အောင်လုပ်ပေး
It
ပြီးတော့မှ
enables you to
AI နဲ့
describe a world, and then it will generate
ပို့ပြီးတော့
aspects of that world
နားလည်
for
လာ
you.
အောင်လုပ်ပေးမယ်ဆိုတဲ့ပုံ
So
စံမျိုးပေါ့
let's
လေ
take a look at how this works. Hey, BuilderBot. First, let's start with the scene. Let's go to a park. Actually, let's go to the beach.
builder bot ကသူပြောတဲ့ဟာနဲ့တခါတည်းဒီမှာ beach
Pretty
ရောက်
good.
သွားတာတို့
Let's add some
budget ရောက်
clouds.
သွားတာတို့ဘာလို့ဖြစ်သွားတာပေါ့
Huh, that's all AI generated. Actually, let's add some alto cumulus clouds.
သူပြောရင်ပြောသလိုမျိုးသူ့ရဲ့
Alright.
ဒီ
And let's add an island over there.
atmosphere သူ့ရဲ့ပတ်ဝန်းကျင်ကိုသူ
It's cool. How about we add some trees out
Sure,
here
yeah,
by the sand? Let's get a picnic blanket down here. Let's put up a table. Let's put a stereo. Let's get some drinks as
သူ
well.
တို့ပြောနေတဲ့ပုံစံကိုနောက်ကနေ AI ကနေပြီးတော့မှဒီရဲ့သူတို့ရဲ့ AR ထဲ
Let's
မှာ
get the sound of some waves and seagulls.
ဒါ AR မဟုတ်ဒါ mixed reality ဖြစ်သွားတာပေါ့လေနော်ဒါ VR ထဲမှာရောက်သွားတာအဲ့တော့ VR ထဲမှာ
Does that speaker work?
သူတို့ပြောတဲ့ပုံစံတိုင်းကို
Let's play some
AI ကနေ
tropical
လိုက်ပြီးလုပ်ပေးနိုင်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့ဟာမျိုးဖြစ်သွားတာပေါ့
And let's add a hydrofoil. You gotta have a hydrofoil.
You got to teach me how to ride one in VR.
All right, that's pretty good, right? Now, as we advance this technology further, you're going to be able to create nuanced worlds to explore and share experiences with others with just your voice. But there are a lot of challenges that we still need to solve to get there. One is developing true multimodal AI. And a lot of the early AI work has been focused on text. When you have a clearly defined
သူကနောက်ပိုင်းက
syntax,
AI
a
ကို
finite set of input words,
တို့အရင်
and a
တော့
lot
AI
of
ဆိုတဲ့
easily
ဟာ
available
ဗျာ
training
ဟို
data,
ကုတ်တွေ
predicting
text
how
တွေ
a
တဲ့
sentence
text
might
တွေလည်းပေါ့
end can be
စာ
relatively
လုံးတွေနဲ့
straightforward.
ပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ကဦးစားပေးပြီးတော့
If you only have 10 or
ဟို
20%
သွားခဲ့ရ
of
တ
an
ယ်ပေါ့
image,
အခုအဲ့ဟာတက်သွား
predicting
မှာ
what the complete
ဒီ
image
တ
will
ကယ်
show
visual
is
တွေ
a
ကျွန်
lot
တော်
more
တို့
difficult.
ခုနပြောတော့
And
take နေ
figuring
ပါ
out
တယ်
what
ညာတွေနဲ့
scene in a
သူ
video
တို့
will come next
AI
is
ကိုပို့ပြီးတော့
another
ရုပ်လုံး
step change
ပေါ်
in
လာအောင်တက်ဆွဲ
complexity.
မယ်ပေါ့
So now imagine going beyond video to fully immersive experiences. What will it take for AI to accurately interpret and predict the kind of interactions that will happen in the metaverse, where people are moving between physical and virtual spaces and creating all kinds of new worlds? The main way that we have approached this is by working on self-supervised learning. Now, before SSL, most AI systems were trained with supervised learning. That means that you feed them lots of labeled data, say 100,000 images of cats, and explicitly tell them this is a cat, this isn't a cat,
ဥပမာ
until
သူ
they
ကဘယ်လို
recognize them
training
as
ပေးရ
cats.
လဲဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီ
But
AI ကို
Jan
supervise
LeCun,
လုပ်ထားတဲ့လူ
our
တွေကစောင့်
chief
ကြည့်နေ
AI
တဲ့
scientist,
training အနေနဲ့
believed that this wasn't going to be enough to produce
လေ့ကျင့်ပေးရတာ
systems
ပေါ့လေဥပမာ
that
ကြောင်
can
ဆိုလို့
really
ရှိရင်လည်း
understand the world.
ဒါ
So we made a big
Lucifer ပါဆိုတဲ့
bet
ဟာမျိုး
on self-supervised
သူတို့ဘက်
learning.
ကနေပြီးတော့
And the idea here is that
လေ့ကျင့်ပေးရတာပေါ့
you don't teach the AI any specific concepts. You just give it raw data and ask it to predict the missing parts, and it will learn abstract representations along the way. And this actually seems closer to how the brain learns. For example, you don't need to show a kid thousands of pictures of a cat for them to understand what a cat is. Now, this has become the primary method of training AI to understand natural text. And it is now achieving state-of-the-art results for images, speech, and other types of
သူတို့
data.
training လုပ်တဲ့ပုံစံ
In fact, self-supervised
ဟို
learning
လေ
now
ကြောင်နေ
outperforms
ကကလေး
many
တက်
other
ကို
existing
ကြောင်
methods
ဆိုတာ
for
ဘာလဲ
images
ဆိုတော့ပြ
and
ဖို့အတွ
video.
က်ကကြောင်ပေါင်း
Even
များစွာ
models that
ကြောင်တွေ
rely
ထောင်
on
ပေါင်းများစွာ
millions
ပြ
of
ကြမလို့
labels, which is a huge step
ကြောင်တစ်ကောင်
forward.
ပြပြီးကြောင်တစ်ကောင်ပြ
And
ပြီး
while
မှဒါ
self-supervised
ကြောင်
learning
ပါ
is
ဆိုတဲ့
still
ဟာမျိုးပြောတာ
developing,
ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့
we think that it's going to be an
သူတို့
important
AI ကို
tool
လည်းသူ
for
အဲ့
the
ဒီနဲ့
metaverse
အခု train
because
train
the
ပါတယ်ပေါ့
complexity and diversity of the environments
အဲ့
that
နောက်ပိုင်းက
people will
ဒီ
experience in AR and VR
ဒီ
will be
AI
too
တွေကို
great
အသုံး
to
ပြု
be
ပြီးတော့မှ
captured
အဲ့
with little data
visualize
sets.
but သူတို့
Traditional
ရဲ့
computer vision techniques also
Oculus ထဲ
aren't
မှာ
going to be
လုံးဝ
enough to
ဒီ
support that
AI က
real sense
စောက်လိုက်တဲ့
of presence and interaction that will
ကဘာတစ်ခု
define
ဖြစ်သွားတဲ့
the
ပုံစံမျိုးကို
metaverse.
သူတို့
So to help advance the
လုံးဝ
state of
ပေါ့
the
နော်
art and systems that can see and understand the world like we do, we recently brought together a global consortium of 13 universities and labs to work on Ego 4D, the largest ever ego-centric data set with thousands of hours of first-person video and benchmark tasks that everyone can use to research and build. So if you're working in this space, I highly encourage you to check this out. Now, the big goal here is to build a universal model that can incorporate knowledge across all modalities: text, speech, movement, position, body language, all the information that is captured through rich sensors. This will enable a vast scale of
အဲ့တော့
predictions,
သူကနောက်ပိုင်းက
decisions,
ဟို
and generation.
text ဒီ
You
စာ
know, the
အနေနဲ့
fundamental
ပဲမဟုတ်တော့
processes
ဘဲ
of how
နဲ့
AI
သူ
systems
တို့ရဲ့အခု
learn,
လုပ်ထား
as
ပြီး
well
တဲ့
as whole
ဒီ
new
lab ထဲမှာဆိုလို့
architectures,
ရှိရင်
training
ကသူတို့
methods, and
တက္ကသိုလ်
algorithms
တွေအတွက်ကိုလုပ်ထား
that
ပြီးတဲ့
can
lab ထဲမှာ
learn
ဆို
from
လို့
a
ရှိရင်တ
vast
ခြားသော
and diverse
ဟို
range
motion
of
ကျွန်တော်တို့အ
different
ရွေ့
inputs.
တွေရုပ်တွေအ
Now,
တ
this
န်
is
တွေ
a
အကြည့်
major
အတွေ့တွေအ
challenge
စသူတို့
and
အဲ့
one
ဒီမှာ
of the
ပေါ်ထည့်ထားတ
critical
ယ်ပေါ့လေ
steps
ဆိုတော့သူ
on
တို့
the
ရဲ့
path towards true AI.
programmers တွေအတွက်ကိုသူတို့
But
ကျောင်းသားတွေ
before
အတွက်
we
ကို
get there,
ဒါလုပ်ပေးထား
AI
တယ်
can
ပေါ့
help us solve an even more fundamental problem. And that is, even while access to technology is expanding globally, still nearly half the world can't access the internet in their own language. Now, this is partially because most of the web isn't just a
လူမျိုး
handful
ဘာ
of
သာစကား
languages.
တွေကို
For example, there are millions of people who speak Fula in West and Central Africa, but their language is almost non-existent
သူ
online.
ကဟိုလူတွေ
This is
ရဲ့ဘာသာ
also
စကား
because
တွေကို
even
ပို့
the
ပြီး
most
တော့နားလည်
advanced
လာ
AI
နိုင်အောင်
models
လုပ်ပေး
used
ခြင်း
for
အဖြစ်
translations
ဒီ
today
AI ကိုတင်ပေးခြင်း
were
အ
often
ဖြစ်
trained in English.
တို့ရဲ့ internet
So
တစ်
a
ခု
lot of
လုံးက
services would translate something from a source language into English and then from English into the destination language, which adds some noise and imprecision to the translation.
internet
So we built an open
တစ်ခု
source
လုံးက
AI
တို့ရဲ့
model that
ပုံ
can
နေတဲ့
translate
မြန်မာစကားကို
directly
ပြန်ပြီးတော့
between
translate
100 languages without
ဓာတ်
having
ရိုက်
to
ကြီး
go
ဘာ
through
သာပြန်လို့
English
ရရမယ်
as
ဆို
an
တော့
intermediate step.
AI နဲ့သူတို့ပြန်ပြီး
We're
ချိန်
going
မှာ
to keep
ပေါ့လေ
building technology that enables more people to access the internet in their language. And in the future, we hope to extend that to content and experiences in the metaverse too. This is going to be especially important when people begin teleporting across virtual worlds and experiencing things with people from different backgrounds. Now, we have the chance to improve the internet and set a new standard where we can all communicate with one another, no matter what language we speak or where we come from. And if we get this right, this is just one example of how AI can help bring people together on a global scale. So to do this, today we are announcing two new projects.
တို့ဆရာ
The
project အသစ်
first
နှစ်ခုရှိပါ
is
တယ်တဲ့
No Language Left Behind,
ပထမ
a
project က
new translation
သူက
system
ဘယ်
that
language
can learn
language
every
တိုင်းကို
language,
သူတို့
even
translate
if there
ပြန်လို့
isn't
ရ
a
မယ်
lot of text
ပြန်လို့ရ
available
အောင်
to learn from. We are
ကျွန်တော်တို့
creating
တ
a
ခါမှမ
single
ကြားဘူး
model
တဲ့
that
ဘာသာ
can
စကားတွေ
translate
ဖြစ်နေ
hundreds
တော့မှ
of
အဲ့ဘာသာစကားကို
languages
ဘာသာ
with
ပြန်လို့ရအောင်
state-of-the-art
သူတို့ရဲ့
results
AI က
in most of the
လောက်
language
တာပြင်မယ်ပေါ့
everything from Asturian to Luganda to Urdu.
ကျွန်တော်
Now, 5 years ago, we could translate across a dozen languages. 3 years ago, we were up to 30 languages.
Australian တွေ
year,
Uganda
we're
တွေ
now aiming
Udu တွေဆိုရဲ
hundreds
အဲ့
of
လို
languages.
နည်းနည်း
The second project
ရှားပါ
is
language
even
ရှားပါ
more
ဘာသာစကားတွေ
ambitious.
တောင်မှ
A universal
ဒါ
speech
သူတို့
translator.
ဘာသာပြန်ပေးနိုင်မယ်ဆိုတော့ဘာသာပြန်ပေးနိုင်အောင်သူတို့လုပ်ပေးနေရပေါ့ပြီးတော့နောက်တစ်ခုကအခုသူသွားမဲ့ဟာက speech to speech ပေါ့လေကျွန်တော်တို့ကမြန်မာလိုပြောလိုက်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဟိုဘက်မှာအင်္ဂလိပ်လိုပြန်ပြီးကြားရဲဆိုတဲ့ဟာမျိုးဟိုဘက်ကအင်္ဂလိပ်လိုပြောလိုက်တယ်ကျွန်တော်ကမြန်မာလိုပြန်ပြီးကြားရဲဆိုတဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးအထီကိုသူတို့လုပ်ပေးဖို့အတွက်ကိုအခုrun နေရပေါ့
is one of our AI researchers who's
စဉ်းစားကြည့်ပါ
driving
ဟို
these
ကျွန်တော်တို့လိုမျိုး
breakthroughs in translation.
အင်္ဂလိပ်စာ
Before
အ
I
များ
hand
ကြီး
over to the team, I want to say a few words about the way that we
မ
approach
တိ
this
မ
work.
လေးလာမထားတဲ့
We're
သူတွေ
clearly
ဟိုက
focused
သူတို့လိုမျိုး
on building technology to help people
world
feel
class ပေါ့လေ
closer
ကျွန်တော်
in
တ
all
ကဘာ
kinds of
အဆင့်မီ
new
ကဘာ
ways.
အဆင့်မီ
That's our
ပညာရေးတွေ
DNA as a
မြန်မာလို
community.
ပြန်ပြီးတော့တင်ကြားခွင့်ရမှာဆို
Most
လို့
tech
share တယ်
companies focus on
It's all
building
right.
new
Oh,
ways
yeah.
for you to interact with technology. But we build new technology so you can interact with the people you care about. One great thing about fundamental research is that advances made to help us achieve our vision also have wide-ranging applications to enable completely new things in other areas as well. Now, one example of this is Fast MRI. It's a project that uses our AI to cut the amount of data that an MRI scan requires by 4x. So if you've ever been in an MRI scanner, you know that reducing the time spent in the scanner by 75% is a really big deal, especially for kids who struggle to stay still for an hour.
တမ်းမှန်ရေးလိုက်တဲ့
It's
ဟာ
rare
ကို
to get
အများကြီးအချိန်တွေ
magnitude of improvement by
ယူရတဲ့အချိန်တွေထွက်လိုက်တယ်ပေါ့လေ
unrelated technology to an existing problem. It's kind of like if you invented a new kind of energy that was suddenly 75% more efficient and being able to use it to power all sorts of things. So I think that we're at a very exciting stage in this cycle, and that definitely motivates us to try to enable this kind of innovation as much as possible. We're also driven by long-term goals. We can do this metaverse work today because of the long-term investments that we started making in AI and virtual reality starting almost a decade ago. And the breakthroughs that we're now seeing in AI are thanks to long-term bets in self-supervised learning
သူက
that we
ဒါက
made
AI
in
က
the
သူတို့ရဲ့
early
ရေရှည်
days of our
ရင်းနှီးမြှုပ်နှံ
research
မှုပေါ့
labs.
လေ
And we're committed
ဒီကနေ
to
ပြီးတော့
building
မှသူတို့
openly
ဆက်
and
ပြီးတော့
responsibly. And as we make progress on this
ပိုပြီး
journey,
ပိုပြီးခေါ်
we have
တဲ့
the opportunity to
Thorough
build better,
research
safer
by
online
Senator
environments for all of us. And that means creating AI technologies that deliver the highest levels of privacy and help prevent harm, like Crypt10, a framework for privacy-preserving machine learning that we built and open sourced. And it also means engaging with human rights, civil rights, disability rights, and privacy experts, and building systems grounded in fairness, respect, and human dignity. And it means working openly and sharing progress, and also building the metaverse for everyone, so that people around the world have access to tools and technologies to realize their own vision for the future. You're going to hear more about our commitment to open science and responsible innovation shortly. But now, it's time for me to turn things over to Jerome and Joel.
Okay ဒါကသူတို့အဖွဲ့အမှားစကားပြောရတာပေါ့လေနော်အဲ့တော့အခု Jerome နဲ့ Jerome နဲ့ Joel နဲ့ဆက်ပြီးတော့ပြောပြပေးပါမယ်ပေါ့ဆက်ကြည့်အောင်ဒါဘယ်လောက်ကြာမလဲမသိဘူးဒါသူတို့ဟိုမှာ live လုပ်နေတာဟဲ့ပြီးသွားတာဟာစကားဘာကပြီးသွားတာမလဲအဲ့ဒီတော့နေရောအဲ့ဒီတော့ကျွန်တော် calendar ထဲမှာတစ်ချက်တော့ကြည့်တာအောင်ပဲဟုတ်လို့ပြောရမလဲနားမလဲကျွန်တော် calendar ထဲမှာသူတို့ invitation ပို့ထားတာရှိတယ်virtual event. Oh, okay, Meta AI. Meta AI ထဲမှာရှိပါတယ်တဲ့။ကြည့်ပါမယ်။
It is available as a PyTorch library.
The live နေတော့
A new standard Uganda to Urdu. Now, driven by long-term goals. We can do this metaverse so that people around the world.
We ensure that our AI is built in a responsible way, an AI that is fair, inclusive, transparent, and safe for all users. What makes Meta AI unique is our ability to invest ahead of the curve. We can make long-term technology bets that have multi-year payoff while ensuring that when these bets come to fruition, they have an impact. This impact can be realized by improving the experience of the 3 billion users of Meta products, or by open sourcing our AI systems so that the rest of the world benefits from them. One example of such bet is PyTorch. PyTorch started as a bottom-up research project by a handful of researchers. And thanks to an amazing community support, it became the leading framework for AI research. It's also used by Meta and by many other companies to deploy AI models. Another example is self-supervised learning. Our chief scientist, initiated this research program 7 years ago. In the past, we taught our AI systems to perform singular tasks by giving them lots of human-generated results, successfully. This is what we call
text စာရနေပြီးကျွန်တော်ဝင်လာမယ်အဲ့ဒါမှ sentiment analysis ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီစာကိုနားလည်နိုင်အောင်ကျွန်တော်လုပ်မဲ့ဟာမျိုးတွေပြီးလို့ရှိရင် information extraction ကျွန်တော်တို့အဲ့စာတွေကနေပြီးမှဘယ်လိုမျိုးအကြောင်းအရာမျိုးကိုပြောချင်တာလဲဆိုတဲ့ information တွေပြီးလို့ရှိရင် image caption တွေအဲ့တော့ပုံတွေကိုကောင်းတဲ့ဘာပုံလဲဆိုတဲ့ဟာမျိုးပြောတဲ့ဟာမျိုးတွေအဲ့တော့ပုံတွေထဲမှာဘယ်လိုမျိုး objective ဆိုတာဘယ်လိုအရာဝတ္ထုတွေပါလဲဆိုတဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးတွေကို AI ကနေပြီးတော့စစ်ထုတ်ပြီးမှာပေါ့လေ
But there is a second approach, a lot more prevalent, unsupervised, self-supervised, where kids learn by observing and interacting with the world on their own. With AI, we can try to do the same thing, learn from the data itself, without any human supervision. For example, when dealing with language, an AI system can remove words from the input text and try to guess them back by inferring patterns in the surrounding words. As the AI systems get better at guessing, it also improves its understanding of the meaning and structure of language. That self-supervised techniques also allow that for automatic knowledge training with it. Now, if we compare to the best systems from just 5 years ago that were trained on specific language tasks with lots and lots of examples provided by humans, we can achieve the same performance today with self-supervised models that have never seen that task before. This is one of the biggest advantages of self-supervised models. They are task independent, so that a single model can be leveraged with some minimal fine-tuning to perform several tasks. Some models can help identify hate speech while also making your newsfeed and search results more relevant. Now, the exciting insight that I want to share with you today is that these self-supervised breakthroughs are no longer limited to language. In the past 6 months, researchers and Meta AI and the rest of the industry have shown amazing results in understanding speech and images as well. For example, Meta AI researchers managed to get a self-supervised technique that's almost as simple as the one I just described for language to work remarkably well for images. Take an image, divide it in small patches, remove 80% of these patches, and ask the AI to reconstruct the full image. Not an easy task, even for humans. Removing so much of the images forces the AI to learn high-level visual semantics to be able to reconstruct the images from source. Combine that with the right network architecture for transformers, and you have a simple approach that's also very scalable and works surprisingly well.
ကျွန်တော်တကယ်အပြင်မှာဖြစ်နေတာတိတ်မကွာတဲ့ပုံတွေဝါနေအောင်မှာတကယ်အစစ်ကဘလို့ပါဆိုတော့မျိုးထွက်လာမှာပေါ့လေကျွန်တော်ငယ်တော့ကြည့်ရတဲ့ရုပ်ရှင်တွေပါတဲ့ပုံကအကျန်းစားzoom ကိုလုံးဝကြီးဆွဲချလိုက်တဲ့အချိန်မှာတော့တော့တက်ပုံက still ကြည့်တောက်နေတော့မှဆိုတာလို့ဆိုတာ
Once again, Meta AI researchers have shown that self-supervised techniques, combined with a minimal amount of annotated data, are competitive with traditional approaches using a lot more human supervision. As the same self-supervised algorithms give competitive results for all 3 modalities, they are paving the way to building a unified model, able to perform complex tasks across all these modalities, pushing the trend of having singular models perform broader sets of tasks to another level. But we are starting to create unified models that can understand multiple modalities that can read lips or listening for better speech recognition, or that can identify policy-breaking social media posts by analyzing all their components, text, image, audio, or video at the same time.
social media မှာတင်ထားတဲ့ post တွေအကုန်လုံးတော့တော့အရင်ကို share လိုက်ပြီးတော့မှတစ်ခုချင်းစီဥမာကျွန်တော်တို့ဗီဒီယိုတွေကဒီမှာပါတယ်ပုံတွေကဘာပြောနေရလဲအတန်တွေကဘာပြောနေရလဲဘာအကြောင်းပြောနေရလဲပြီးရင်ဒီစာထဲမှာဘာအကြောင်းပြောနေရလဲဆိုတဲ့ဟာမျိုးတို့ AI ကစစ်ထုတ်နိုင်စွမ်းရှိလာမယ်ပဲပေါ့လေ
Joel is now joining us to tell us how we are going to do just that.
Thanks, Jerome. The metaverse brings several new challenges. Most of the fast progress in AI of the last decade is deeply grounded in the internet. So it's not surprising that we've seen the most progress for data modalities such as speech, language, and vision. Those are the native modalities for the internet. In AR and VR, though, the experience and the affordances are much bigger. So, for example, movement. From hands to faces to the whole body becomes a major vector for giving and receiving information. Now, this opens up some fascinating new opportunities and also requires some major progress in our AI models. Jerome shared the goal of building a unified model.
အခုတော့သူက AI ကအလှုပ်အရှားဒီလက်ရှုပ်တာတွေပါရအစား AI ကနေပြီးတော့ခံမှန်းပြီးတော့ဗောလေကျွန်တော်တို့ကဒီ Oculus ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းကျွန်တော်တို့ remote နှစ်ခုပဲရှိအောင်ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒါပေါ်မှာ AI ကနေခံမှန်းပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီအပြင်ကဘယ်လိုလှုပ်နေရလဲဆိုတဲ့ဟာမျိုးပါမူတည်ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ AR ထဲမှာ VR ထဲမှာလည်းကျွန်တော်လှုပ်ပြမယ်ပေါ့
or interventions. Compared to a unified model, which is great to represent information, a world model is able to plan and to reason over that really long term. So as we move to building AI agents that can operate fluidly across true reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality, our world models will need to be trained with a mix of static pre-recorded data, like the supervised models, but also a stream of interactive experiences. We don't know yet all the new methods and algorithms that we will develop in coming years, but we already know a few research directions are poised for big changes. Let me highlight today just a few of them, which we are really excited about. Embodiment in robotics, creativity, responsibility. The reason we're looking at robotics is that it's a fantastic case where world models can make a major
robotics
difference.
ပတ်သက်တဲ့အပိုင်းတွေရယ် creativity နဲ့အပိုင်းတွေရယ်
to achieve what we can call unbounded robotics.
ပြီးတော့နောက်ဆုံး
Robots that break out of the lab or highly
responsibility
constrained
ပေါ့တာဝန်ယူမှုတာဝန်
settings,
ခံမှု
such
နဲ့
as
ဆိုင်တဲ့ဟာတွေ
factories.
အပိုင်းတွေရမှာ
And are
အဓိက
able
သုံး
to
ပါမယ်ပေါ့
operate fluidly in the home, in the office, interacting with humans, space, and objects as naturally as possible. And there are several steps to get there. If we observe how people learn, the experience is very different whether you have a new skill and all they can do is observe. This is what most of our AI systems on the internet are doing right now, learning in a passive way, like a child sitting in front of a TV or computer. Of course, parents and psychologists have long known that learning is much faster, deeper, more transferable when it's done actively through manipulating the world, trial and error, and repeat. Now, one important step as we build robots that learn from rich interaction is that we need the robot itself physically to improve its ability to perceive the world.
အခုက AI ကအဲ့လိုမျိုးခလေးတယောက်လိုပဲ TV ရှင်းမှာထိုင်နေတဲ့ခလေးတယောက်လိုပဲဒီ TV မှာဘာပေါ်လာလဲဆိုတဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးပဲကြည့်နေရတာပေါ့လေဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့အပြင်လောကမှာကျွန်တော်မိဘတွေကိုယ့်ရဲ့ကလေးတွေကိုတင်လို့ပဲပေါ့လေတကယ် trial and error ပုံစံမျိုးကပို့ပြီးတော့ AI နေကိုတင်ပေးရတာပိုလွယ်နိုင်ပါတယ်ပေါ့အဲ့တော့သူတို့လည်းအဲ့ဒီပုံစံမျိုးလေးနဲ့တင်လို့ရအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့သူတို့က robotic ကိုဦးစားပေးသွားတာပါပေါ့အဲ့တော့သူရဲ့လက်ပေါ်မှာဒီ robotic arm လေးသူထည့်လိုက်တယ်ပြီးတော့မှကျွန်တော်တို့အဲ့ဟိုဟာကိုဖတ်ထုတ်လုပ်တဲ့ဟာတော့ဖတ်ထုတ်လာပေါက်စီလားမသိဘူးသူဟာ အဲ့ဒါကိုလက်ကဘလို့လှုပ်နေလဲဆိုတဲ့ဟာကိုအိမ်ဒီဘက်ကဟို magnetic ဟာနဲ့သူတို့ပြန်ပြီးတော့track လိုက်ပြီးတော့သူ trace လိုက်ပြီးတော့မှအဲ့လို track လိုက်ပြီးတော့မှသူတို့ robotic တွေဆက်ပြီးတော့လေ့လာတယ်ပေါ့လေ
consists of a deformable elastomer and it's able to measure contact forces through changes in images recorded by a camera within the sensor. So compared with currently available commercial tactile sensors, Digits is a lot cheaper to manufacture and it provides hundreds of thousands more contact points. Think of those contact points as the pixels of touch. This is remarkably fine-grained touching. Consistent with our approach on AI models, we've gone so far as to open source the plans for this one, making it accessible to research teams around the world. Once we start having the right sensors, we need to also build the AI models that will make the robot more intelligent. For example, hold objects robustly. This builds most closely on our work on unified model for the perception aspects, but we really need the world model here to plan how to pick up, manipulate, and place the objects without making a mess of things. As with most of our research work, we've built and released an open source library, in this case, the PyTouch library, that includes several functionalities such as detecting touch, slip, estimating the robot pose, and the object itself. This can all be included as part of a broader system with navigation and other robotics capabilities. One of the interesting challenges in all this work is to create some models that can operate both in the real world through physical robots, physical objects, but also in virtual worlds, allowing our avatars to pick up and manipulate objects in a realistic way and to ensure consistency from one to the other. To bridge the gap from reality to VR, our Habitat project explores developing a full photorealistic environment synthetically generated from thousands of scans of indoor environments.
ဘယ်လိုမျိုးပုံစံမျိုးအခန်းတစ်ခန်းမှာရှိလဲဆိုတဲ့ဟာမျိုးသူကတကယ် robot တွေကိုတုံးပြီးတော့သူတို့တစ်ခန်းလုံး scan လုပ်လိုက်တဲ့သဘောမျိုးပေါ့အဲ့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်သူတို့ရဲ့ robot တွေကိုသူတို့ပို့ပြီးတော့ training ပေးလို့ရနိုင်တယ်ပေါ့
with space and objects. It's a fantastic playground and a close cousin to the world builder you saw earlier in Mark's talk. While simulation is a great way to accelerate our research towards
habitat ဆိုတဲ့ဟာတွေမှာတော်လေးလို့ရပါတယ်ခက်တာကျွန်တော်စီမှာ programmer
there's still a big gap between simulation and
ကျွန်တော် page ပေါ်မှာ programmer name နဲ့တွေ့
much work to do to build some truly reliable
programmer တွေတော့ share
models. In particular, doing physics simulation in real time at all levels of resolution, from fine contact with the objects to the full body motion, is really very hard. But is it really necessary for our world models to be that precise all the time? That's an interesting question. In fact, the video gaming industry has often challenged this in a really interesting way. Many games totally sidestep the idea of realistic simulation by simply making interactions wildly different from what we know in the real world. One of the things I'm most excited to see in coming years is that same explosion of creativity, but fueled by the new capabilities in AI models. In this vein, let me share with you one short project, a particularly fun one recently out of our Meta AI research labs. Rather than trying to sense and recreate the real world, this one leans into the inner child we all have inside of us. It's a new approach to storytelling. And for people such as myself, whose artistic talent is best identified with the primitive period, this is just perfect. It starts from a simple drawing of a character and brings it to life in a short animated video sequence. Let's have a look. We start with a simple drawing of a character. It then uses our state-of-the-art object detection model, MaskR CNN, as implemented in the open source Detectron library to detect the figure from the background. We then use AlphaPose, a model